My guest this week is photography industry great Scott Kelby. His creds are enough to make your head spin, but the highlights are editor and publisher of the Photoshop User magazine, president and co-founder of the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, and president of Kelby One's software training, education, and publishing company. He's a photographer, designer, and the award-winning author of more than 50 books, co-host of the super popular online weekly talk show, The Grid with Matt Kloskowski, and in his own photography, he specializes in sports, fashion, and portrait work, which has all been featured around the world. Suffice it to say that he and his wife Calibra, whom I chatted with in a previous episode, are a veritable tour de force in the world of photography. But at the heart of it all, Kelby is number one, a teacher to the core of his being. Scott is also a musician, a husband, a dad, and is passionately living his life as if it were his art. He also wears his heart on his sleeve, and in today's episode of The Chat, he shares the pivotal moment in his life that informed the entire creation of the Kelby empire. You might want to grab a tissue for this one. I am deeply honored and utterly thrilled to present Scott Kelby.
Hey everybody, it's Karen Hutton and The Chat with Karen Hutton. Sound bite-sized insights from some of the coolest people in the planet, and today we are in one of the coolest places on the planet with one of the coolest people on the planet, the one, the only, Scott Kelby.
Thank you, Karen. You're very kind.
We're in Kelby Land, as I've decided. This just came to me just now. I've decided to call this Kelby Land. I was here doing The Grid with the fabulous Scott and Matt, and we're in the facility. We're like got our own little set and everything here. So cool. This is kind of like you know, Joni meets Tchotchke, goes to whatever that was, goes to Happy Days. This is like a merging of the shows.
It really is.
Yeah, and I'm spoiled now forever. I mean, the lighting, the set, the people, and you.
I know, they're good. It's not me, it's them, trust me.
Well, well, see, this is part of the episode today. It's part of the vision around this whole thing. How are you today, by the way?
I'm fantastic, absolutely.
I am so glad. I'm so glad to hear it. And, I mean, normally I like to keep the show not topical because I like it to be evergreen, but this is big enough, and I believe long-lasting enough, that I have to mention that you just launched yesterday Kelby One.
Yeah, so we took the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, which we've run for almost 15 years now, and then our online training for photographers, Kelby Training, and made it one. They joined forces to become Kelby One. It's like one big giant thing now.
I mean, you and Calibra are amazing. You're a couple. You run this incredible business, and this vision that you have, and the whole, you know, everything that's behind the machine. I had no idea it was so phenomenal and just so much going on here. And yet, you're able to pivot like this. You're able to kind of go, where should we go? What do our people want? And you're able to actually pivot the business this way. That's just amazing. Was that always your vision? To be that flexible?
Well, I think it's just we've been that lucky. Luckily, we don't have a board of directors. Yeah. It's just Calibra and I and Gene Kendra, and it's always been us since the very beginning. And so when we want to make a decision, and by the way, Calibra is the driver of decisions. She's the one that's always, you know, like, let's do this, let's do this. Yeah. We don't have to go to a board. We don't have to wait for a meeting. It's like, are we going to do this? Let's do it. And so that gives us a great amount of, it's not like turning an aircraft carrier. We can turn like a little speedboat because we don't have to get a bunch of approvals. We just, if we all sit in the room when the three of us agree, boom, it's done.
That is fantastic. I mean, that's like a business model that, I don't know, bigger corporations wish they could do. And consequently, you're never going to be the relic left behind by the times changing. You're always going to be right on top of it. What is the one biggest vision behind this whole thing? Like, what do you hope to attain with this?
Our goal was, and as always, our goal from the very beginning has always been, we wanted to make education accessible to everybody and really, really affordable. And so we have a different business model than a lot of people. But what we thought was, you know what, if we make it really, really affordable and really, really high quality, because those two things don't usually go together. Nope. But we thought, you know what, we really believe that you'll enjoy the learning more. You'll get more out of it if it's fun, if it's well produced, if you're really enjoying what you're seeing, and if it's short, clear, and concise. So we don't do like really, really long classes. Our classes are probably an hour to 2 hours. But what we pack into an hour to 2 hours, I think it's more digestible, easier to learn. Because if I'm faced with doing something that's like 10 hours long, 20, 30 hours long.
It's hard to even start.
I'm like, it's a lot. That's a big commitment.
Yeah.
But if you go, look, you can learn Lightroom in 90 minutes. I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, okay, 90 minutes, I'm up and running. And so we kind of built the whole business on that, the whole thing on being fun, being quick and short. You know, it's like people are busy. Attention spans are short. And we thought, you know what, if we can really deliver this great quality thing, if we can really build training like we would build for ourselves, and that's how I want to learn, right? And so I think the best products come out of products that you would build, you know, for yourself. I watch my own classes. I don't mind my classes. I watch our training.
Right.
I watch Tim Wallace's classes on automotive photography. I watch Moose Peterson's classes on aviation photography. When I want to go do a shoot, I'm going to go watch whoever's class it is. And so it's the level of stuff that I would want done the way I want to do it. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. And it's really exciting. It's interesting, though. I mean, that's why I do this show this length. And by the same token, I had someone from the other side of the world get in touch with me because this short and shorter thing, I think, is very American. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it sounds like us, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound like...
We're always trying to get into the next thing.
Yeah, just get to the next thing. And he said, I love your show. I understand the format. I really get it. But could you ever do a longer one? Because he said some of the guests, Kelby was one of the ones that he mentioned, and they'll probably say this about you too, is I wish you had more time. It seems like you over there are just so focused on everything being short and fast and get it done. And I don't know what to think about that.
It's our culture.
And I know. I don't know what to think about whether I thought that was, because I understood his point.
It's a wonderful compliment, actually.
Yeah.
That he's enjoying what you're doing so much that he wishes there was more of it. That's the greatest compliment you can get.
Do you think people will say that about your training?
No.
Why not?
No. I mean, I try to keep it short and concise because everybody that we hire, you know, we hire all these different people to do this stuff, we kind of hire them knowing that going in. They're going to be able to get their point across quickly, and it's going to stick. And I think that's the stickiness of training and education is really, really important. There's a ton of training out there. I got to create training that sticks. Like you watch it and you can actually do it and you have time to try it and stuff and all. If you get mired in it, you're never going to go out and try it. And if you don't go out and try it, you're not going to be a success. If you're not a success, you're not going to come back to us for training. How
do you gauge your success? Okay, two-part question.
Okay.
This is about gauging success as a business owner, you know, of Kelby One. How are you going to know when you've been successful, aside from money? And as a human, it's like this. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a human and a business question. So first of all, the business. How are you going to know when this has done what you wanted it to do? Down the line, some hypothetical amount of time. How will you look at that and go, yes, that was all we wanted it to be?
Well, man, that's a tough question.
I know. And it's all gauged on where we're at now.
Because we feel like such a work in progress.
Of course.
You know, I feel like that we're so far down the road, and I think what will make us a success is I want to continue to be able to do this. And even if I'm not doing this, if 10 years down the road I'm not doing it, I want this type of training to be out there. I want this to be something that people will always have access to, because you know what, a university says you have to have this amount of money, and I'm going to I'm only going to accept a certain amount of people, and all. We wanted to let everybody in. It's very disruptive for someone like us to come in and go, it's open to everybody. You don't have to pass a test. You don't, because and putting really, really good quality education in people's hands, really affordably, that's what the driving motivation behind it is that's what we want to do. And as long as we can continue to do that and reach more people and more people, I think that's a success. It won't be based on how much money we made or anything like that. Right. It would be based on, are we giving people access to that kind of stuff? That's really the answer, I think, is.
Well then, okay, so then you raise another question, even though I was going to go a different direction. So you're really passionate about this.
Oh yeah, this is what gets us up in the morning.
Yeah, and is it more? Do you think of yourself more as is it more about the business, or is it more about teaching? Is it more about the people? Like what piece of this is the biggest driving factor for you?
Well, I think when you're a teacher, it's kind of like a calling. You're a soldier, you're a fireman, you're a police officer, you're a teacher. Teachers, like in high schools and universities, none of them got in it because they thought, this is a great way to get rich. They got in it because it's who they are. And to get to the kind of training that we do, I'll try to keep the story short, but we had an overriding idea when we first started this thing. We wanted it to be affordable. We wanted it to be really, really great quality. But what it was, and this is why I think this helps to explain why our classes are 90 minutes, 2 hours and stuff, is a long time ago I used to be a musician. Used to play with this amazing guitar player. His name was Barry Green. He had been to the Berklee School of Music. He was just unbelievable. And one night I was talking to him, and I was a keyboard player. I wasn't a very good keyboard player. In fact, I was really having trouble with improvising and stuff, and I hated the way I sounded with improvising. I went over to him one night and I said, Barry, I tell you what, buddy, you're an amazing guitar player, and it seems like every time you go to start a solo, you hit the perfect note. It's absolutely the wonderful note. And he's like, oh, well, I just usually play the ninth. I usually start on the ninth of the chord. I'm like, really? He says, yeah, so from the key of C, I would start with a D, just go up one letter, and I would start with that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because earlier in my career, I went and was actually taught by a kind of a famous piano player. First lesson, he sits down, he starts doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, wow, what are you doing? He's like, oh, it's a lot of stuff. I stayed there for a few lessons. He would never, ever, ever tell me what he was doing. He wouldn't tell me, here's how to improvise. It was kind of like I hadn't paid my dues. I was going to have to go down this thing and go through a number of years and pay my dues to finally realize what he was doing. But I walked over to Barry, and Barry that night said, I start on the ninth. And I was like, it's math. It's just math. That night, it comes time for me to play my keyboard solo. I'm in the key of G. I know I go up one letter to A. Start playing. I hit an A. It's that note.
Wow.
And what it did for me was this. It was like, holy cow, all these years I've been struggling with this, and now I realize that there's just math behind this and that I can learn this stuff. It propelled me to go out and take real piano lessons later in life and find a teacher that would be the one to tell me, here's how it's done. If somebody had just told me, these are the things I do, these are the scales I use, this is how it's done, we tie these things together this way, I could do it. I just needed somebody to be the one to tell me. And it eluded me my entire life until that day with Barry. And that made me move on to want to learn music on a much deeper level. Why wouldn't anybody show me that before?
Right.
I spent years trying to learn to improvise. Sounds stupid.
No, it doesn't.
But
it really does not sound stupid at all.
I spent years trying to learn this, and this one guy in one sentence says, here's how it's done. And I knew right then, if I was ever going to be a teacher in my life, I was going to be Barry Green. That turns people on to learn more stuff. That takes them to the next level. That makes them go, I want to learn photography at a different level. I want to learn Photoshop. I can do this stuff. And so it was a point it was the changing moment in my entire life when I knew I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. That's how we started this company, and that's what we do to this very day. I'm sorry.
See, that's the kind of passion. That's what I was saying earlier. When I walk around here and I talk to everyone, this is what's at the heart of it. I think in this country, this is my personal opinion. I'm doing this show as a short format. Why? Because everybody's in a hurry. They're rushing somewhere. They don't want to feel, they don't want to take the time, whatever it is. And the reason I do this show is for moments like this, now you're probably gonna get me bawling, but is to start to feel again why we do what we do, to feel what's important, what to get passionate about. You know, what matters, what makes you go, that gasp.
And when you're a teacher and you see that, when you're teaching a class and you look out in the audience and you see somebody do that, that's your payoff. That's it. That's why you do it. It's not for the money, it's not for the other things, it's because of the rush you get when you know, wow, I had something that I maybe learned the hard way, but now I can turn it on to somebody else and it moves them ahead in their life. And that's what it's about. You know, we're all in this together.
We are.
And if other photographers get better and I helped, man, that's a home run for me.
Yep. And that's how I feel. If we, by doing this, help people understand that it's okay, not only okay, but it's desirable, it's important to know what makes you feel this way, what makes you feel the way I do about doing this. And that's what to do. That's the salvation of our, of our heart and our soul and everything else that we do. I really feel that in my heart. So thank you for showing up and showing us that.
You're welcome. You know what you could do for me?
What?
Edit all that out.
Seriously?
Oh, it's horrible.
See, I don't think it's horrible. I think it's
I just
important.
can't tell that story.
I think that's going to have more impact than you even realize. The older we get, the simpler advice, the simplest advice that like I got from my mother, that he got from his dad, about do what you love. My mother used to say, do what you love and money will follow. You got to find your passion, and that's the most important thing. And of course, when you're young, you're like, oh, I've got to get all this done, and that's blah, blah, blah. And you got all this drama, and you got to get somewhere, and you're in a big hurry, and that just seems dumb. And my mother used to say, the older you get, after I'm gone, I'm going to get smarter by the year. I am going to be so smart by the time you're my age, it's amazing. And she's right. And his father said to him, I'm going to give you some advice at the end of this week. Advice that you'll want to know for the rest of your life. It'll change your life. And so, he looked forward to it all week. And then his father said, and he was 17 or something at the time, and his father said, do what you love.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. I think out of the sheer simplicity and out of the desire for it's got to be more, and it's got to be short, and it's got to be fast, and it's got to be pizzazz, and it's got to be blah, I think we miss the fact that the deepest, most life-changing, most life-enhancing messages are so simple, and they're so deep, and they're so touching, and they're so informative, and they literally inform the rest of your life.
To do what you love, that's it.
To do what you love, and to do what you love so much it drops you on your knees and makes you weep. That is a gift to give yourself, to give other people, and to create a world around. And what's so inspiring here is the fact that I grew up thinking, fine, that's all fine and good to do what you love, and then now you're just all airy-fairy, and now you're just like, ooh, I love this, and ooh, and then you're destitute in the streets. And what you've created here is absolutely going to be my touch. It always has been, but I mean, is more now going to be my touchstone of you do what you love and you create your world, literally, that sustains you, not only artistically and emotionally and in every other way, but financially as well, and for other people, and to be able to help other people and support other people. That is quite a legacy. That has to be the whole message of this one. I make up questions a lot of times just to have conversation that I pray and I hope leads to like maybe just catching the edge of this wave. And so, you went for it, and I just cannot thank you enough for doing that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So towards the end of every show, I like to do random questions, which of course are really going to be random now. But one of them is, what question has no one ever asked that you wish they would?
Oh, man, your questions are really good, but they're not easy.
No.
I don't know.
Maybe you say it all. Maybe it's all out there. Maybe if there's a question, you maybe.
Oh no! You know what? On the ride home tonight, I'm definitely going to be able to come up with that question.
Then I'll put it in later.
I'll be like, Karen, I remembered.
That's okay. We don't have to answer that one. So here's another one. What sound do you absolutely love? You're a musician. You deal with audio all the time. What's your favorite sound, and what's your least favorite sound?
I know absolutely what my favorite sound is. It's my wife's voice on the phone. Like if I call her and I hear, when she answers the phone, she just has this, hi, sweetie. She always sounds happy to hear from me. Even if she's not, she still sounds happy. So I would say I love my wife's voice. I love my daughter's voice. And they have the same voice. It is just a little, my daughter is actually a clone of her.
Really?
Oh, an absolute clone, which is the best thing that could happen to my daughter. But she has her mom's voice, just a little version of it. She talks like her. She says the same thing. Oh, it's so adorably cute. But that's my favorite sound.
I love it. What's your least favorite?
My least favorite sound, hands down, is the alarm. I am not a wake up in the morning kind of person. When that alarm goes off, it absolutely, I stay up late and work. And if an alarm goes off and I have to catch a flight or something and that alarm goes, it's just like you might as well just hit me in the head with a sledgehammer. That is my least favorite sound.
I think I'm right there with you on that one.
That and oboe.
Oboe,
no,
really?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was going to say, some people have instruments. Like, I'm not crazy about tuba, I have to say.
You just haven't heard the right tuba player.
I must not have heard the right tuba player. There's still time.
You know what you got to do is Jimmy Fallon's show.
Yeah.
His band.
Oh, his band's phenomenal.
They have a tuba player. They don't have a bass player. It's tuba. That guy rocks.
Really?
I know.
I'm going to let the Roots, right?
Yeah, the Roots.
Love those guys.
The bass player's playing tuba. I know, it goes by. You don't even realize. One day I'm watching. He's playing tuba. He's playing tuba every night.
That totally escaped me, and now I'm going to watch. My husband's a bass player. Look who's replaced you.
Tuba.
Tuba.
Who would have thought?
Take up tuba.
Planned obsolescence.
Yeah, you've only been playing almost 50 years. What can learning a tuba can be fine. Final question. What legacy do you want to leave? That's such a big word. So what legacy do you hope that you leave? What do you want people to look back and think when they think about you in number of years?
You know, on my blog, I have a thing about me, and it's all these questions. I wrote an interview for myself.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so, because no one's going to sit there and read a bio. You know, who really wants to go read somebody's bio?
No,
so I asked these questions like, what are your favorite movies? What are your favorite restaurants? So the very last thing on my page is, it asks like what my philosophy is. And I would want to be known by what my philosophy is. My philosophy is, you never go wrong by doing the right thing. I would just like my philosophy is like, you know what? There's somebody that tried to do the right thing. It's very simple.
Yep.
And it's not as simple to do as it's not as simple to walk it, but it has served my wife and I and our family very, very well. We always try to do the right thing. We try to take the high road. We try to do the right thing. And you know what? I don't ever regret it. I
love it. I think that's a perfect note to end this on. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up and bringing it. And this is a show I'm going to remember for a really, really long time. Thank you, Scott Kelby.
Can I get a hug?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen.
You're so awesome.